What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we got Justin from Crippled Black Phoenix. Thank you for your time today.
Cool.
It's so awesome to have you here. The newest album is Ellengæst, which is scheduled to come out October 9th via Season of Mist. Do you just want to talk about how the making of this record was, in terms of was there a idea in mind when making this, or was there a lot of improvising? What was the thought process with making Ellengæst?
Oh, I mean, there's never a thought process. Not in anything that I do or we do as a band, Well, especially with the albums, I try not to think about it at all, if possible. So, no, there's no preconceived ideas. It's just that time, we had some songs to record, wanted to do something, and so yeah, I mean, it came pretty good, I mean, there's the obvious thing about Mark and Daniel left the band, and they actually left the band while on the first couple of days I was in the studio tracking. So there's that obvious kind of thing that technically kind of made it not so good. But the thing is, well, I say not so good, it actually got better. It was actually a really good experience this time, because I felt somehow liberated, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was fine. There was, but as usual, I'd written a bunch of songs, made the demos, ready to go in the studio, and just had to deal with getting the singers together.
Mm-hmm. Could the first single that you released, "Cry of Love," almost served as a clear representation of what the entirety of Ellengæst is going to sound like, or is this just the tip of the iceberg, as I like to call it?
Yeah, no, basically. Doesn't represent. Well, it represents the album, of course, because it's on the album, and but sonically, nah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if people are going to think it's I mean, there's obviously the same kind of vibe through the album, but they're all their own songs, definitely,
Mm-hmm.
But it's got that kind of vibe to it, I guess. But there's the usual misery there in abundance.
Does Ellengæst have any relationship to your previous album, Great Escape? Is this a continuation of that, or is this almost kind of maybe a new beginning with new members coming in and everything like that? Do you almost consider this a new entity for the Crippled Black Phoenix catalog?
Well, maybe, but that would be sort of thinking about that after the fact. That's sort of what I'm kind of thinking. I'm feeling about it now, not when I recorded it. I wouldn't say it's a continuation of Great Escape. I mean, everything that I do, obviously, I don't want to do the same thing over and over again. I mean, it is a continuation, as in it's the next bunch of songs. It's the next stage in the development of the music, I guess. But no, I think it was supposed to be its own thing, and I did want to treat it kind of differently, because originally it was going to be a kind of a shorter EP kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to tide us over to the next full length. But it grew into something much sort of bigger, a little bit longer, and a lot deeper as well. So I still wanted to treat it differently. That's why the artwork is kind of different. The first time since the debut album, I've put we've got the band name on the album cover. I think just little details like that. It's just treated slightly differently.
Yeah.
And of course, with Belinda, the male singer of the band isn't there, so we have different male singers on this one. So that's something different from this album.
Yeah, isn't it amazing on how art works, where it's supposed to go one way and ends up taking a completely different direction? It's almost like you can't control your own creativity sometimes, because life takes so many different turns.
No, well, you hit the nail right on the head there. And it's, the music or anything creative, artwork, it has a life of its own. That's why, I mean, I consider myself, and I've said it before, I consider myself and the band, we're just custodians of the music. We don't control it, So yeah, I mean, whichever way it wants to go, that's the way we'll go. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's the fun of it, that's the adventure.
Absolutely. And I've always thought that, the music for you guys is a little bit, I don't know how you feel about this term particularly, but I've always thought that Crippled Black Phoenix was actually fairly experimental in their sound. Like, I mean, just with The Great Escape alone, to go to You I Give, to Madman, to, Nebulous, like, you have so many different vibes and so many different sounds. So trying new things and experimenting with your sound clearly is almost part of the creative process, right? It's not like you try to stick with one thing.
Oh yeah. No, I've never stuck with one thing. The first album is so sonically different to anything else. Of course, you do it for long enough, and you start to form a pattern, and you have your own style, and that style develops. But that's just the kind of the magic dust on top. That's just the vibe of it, I guess. The actual writing of the songs and everything. Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to, well, plenty of people, but I wouldn't want to ever just do the same thing over and over again. And I kind of guess that's why I ended up doing Crippled Black Phoenix in the first place, is because I was trapped. I felt like I was trapped in a scene playing in these super doom heavy bands, and there's just no scope for anything else. It's really sort of narrow-minded. Well, it was then anyway, and that's why I ended up sort of getting out of it, really. So yeah, the Crippled Black. If I ever, proclaim to be anything, is that Crippled Black Phoenix music is honest.
Yeah.
That's the best one.
You guys don't have to worry about a Crippled Black Phoenix song sounding too much like a Crippled Black Phoenix song.
Well, I've laid the groundwork for that, I guess, because I've done some stupid things in the past with putting ridiculous songs on albums, and I guess I don't have that filter. A lot of people have the filter where they'll pick and choose the songs and the hits to go on an album. I don't do that. I just put everything on an album, And
well,
so,
well, the thing is like, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Like, if your music is as experimental as you guys, people could criticize it for being all over the place or directionless. And if you do the same thing, people will say you're repetitive. So either way, in the end, you clearly make something that you're currently feeling at the time and what you feel is right.
Yeah, I think now, especially in recent years, I think that there is like I said, it's not like the Crippled Black Phoenix sort of what do you call it? The style, but it's the vibe. We've got the vibe now that's been there for a while. It's just that kind of general kind of feeling about it. So what I'm trying to say is that like you were picking up on things like Madman or the Nebulas, and we can put those kind of songs on the album, but it'll always sound like Crippled Black Phoenix because it's kind of treated the same way.
Yeah. At
the end of the day, I'm an old punk rocker that grew up listening to classic progressive stuff as well, and that it's always going to have that spirit to it,
Definitely.
So yeah.
But when you look at the entirety of the Crippled Black Phoenix catalog, when you compare to, a love of Shared Disasters compared to like Night Raider or Bronze, like, do you almost like look at these as like a self-portrait or maybe like a reflection of who you are at a time in a way?
Yeah, I guess I do. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, I guess. But yeah, I can't deny it, I suppose. I would have denied that before. I think now that I'm just getting too old and lazy to care. But the thing is, though, this band is my life, and I did this for like very personal, deep kind of reasons, which no one's interested in hearing that. But so yeah, I put a lot of myself into this, and so I don't see how it can't reflect, who I am. And it definitely reflects. It's like bad tattoos. I stand by every tattoo I've got on my body, but it represents a time and a place and the way I was feeling at the time, maybe. And it's the same with the music. So I stand by everything, whether I still like it or not. And like you said, it is a representation, I guess.
Yeah. Definitely. And like, I mean, is there ever a time where maybe like a concept or like an experience or something that you want to address in the song could help influence the direction of the sound? Or is like the music always first before lyrics could ever come into play or a concept?
Yeah, always music first. It's definitely because, I mean, I'm not a lyricist, you see, and I can't sing, which is why I'm not the vocalist in the band, you know. But so I've always started with the music, and I didn't purposely do it this way. It's just how it's ended up, you know. And so I've kind of presided over every single, you know, kind of piece of music. But then when it comes to the vocals, I believe that whoever's singing those words have to write the words because they have to have conviction in them, you know. So what I do is I write the song, I give it a song title, and that's how I communicate. And then the person who writes the lyrics kind of fits into that world, you know, and that's where, you know, we've experimented with, you know, and there's different people come and gone, you know, and some people can work that way, some people can't, but it's always the music that comes first, basically, you know, and then my concepts and the ideas and the song titles, they kind of find they kind of find the songs themselves, you know, everything starts to make sense, and that's how it happens.
Mm-hmm. How do you know when a song is done?
When I finished it.
Oh, come on, you could do better than that.
It's never done. It's never done. And that's truthfully how I feel. All I can say is that songs and albums, they get to a point where I'm prepared to let it out into the world and for other people to hear them. But and that's a good thing, you know, because I shouldn't ever think too much about making this music, you know. I don't like overthinking things, so there has to be kind of a barrier there, and the fact that I have to get the songs done and get it out there gives it that kind of energy, you know. So I guess the song's done when it's just like, okay, that's good enough to go, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, it almost seems like an artist could be their own worst enemy in determining, like, because like all it could take is for one note or one beat or maybe even one effect to just alter the entire experience.
Oh God, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a whole album, right? I mean, get this. I suppose the most well-known album, probably, what is it, I Vigilante, maybe? That album, there's half of that album I hate the way it was recorded. I really do. And I wish I could re-record those songs because they're some of the best songs, but and Crafty 8 it's well overproduced. So there's things that, you know, I'd like to do again, but, you know, that's a real kind of Pandora's box, you know, when the musician starts re-recording stuff. But I have re-recorded things before, and I steal things from my own songs sometimes, you know, because I feel like I can do a better version of something. So in that respect, nothing's ever finished.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what's funny is, like, I don't know if this is even like a priority or a goal for what you do, but like I almost feel like the longer you work on something, because I've always thought that what I've liked about your music is that it really captures a moment, it really develops an atmosphere. So do you find that maybe like the longer you're working on something, the harder it is to kind of like maintain that emotional spark or capture that moment?
Yeah, 100%. I'm all for just capturing the moment. I mean, half of me is like a perfectionist, not with the albums, but when we play live, because I just want the best. I want to give the fans the best, you know, experience. But on the other hand, you know, like I said, I'm an old punk rocker. I don't care if, you know, like if we're playing the show and we're not note perfect. If the vibe's there, then that makes a good show for me. Same with the albums. It doesn't have to be like technically great or super produced. But if you have an atmosphere or a vibe, or you like you say, you capture that moment, that's it. That's the key. That's what I'm always striving for, I guess. And the trick is not to think about that too much. You know, just let that happen. And I think that's why sometimes it's a little bit hit and miss. You know, sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. but you can't hide the ones that don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because then it becomes pretentious.
In order for like that creative energy to come through, or for ideas to come through, do you need to be in a certain place at a certain time in order for like the ideas? You have like a usual lair that you like where the creative energy flows, or does inspiration sometimes just come out of nowhere?
I think it's, you know, probably most people tell you, it comes from all over the place. It's a bit of everything, but I generally don't write when people expect me to write, because it's subconscious kind of mental block. I like to be by myself. You know, that's the only thing I think is that I write by myself, and that's that. I can't really write with other people. I'm not very good at that. I like to have my space. Same with the albums. I always have a few days at the start of the album process where I'll be in the studio by myself, and I'll do the drum tracking, the guide guitars and the bass and things like that. And I'll just start sketching things out by myself, because I just need that space. I'm not very good at, I'm not to say multitasking, but you know, I can't listen to voices and music and things going on all at the same time, and that kind of starts to freak me out. And you know, when people come with some, amazing ideas and everything, but you know, I have to keep it fairly simple, otherwise I get very confused.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, especially for this style of music, it almost seems like isolation has to be the greatest fuel for creativity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a sad old bastard, really. Sit by myself with my cats.
I don't think anybody is saying that that's obscure at all. That actually sounds awesome. Now, here comes a very interesting. Here's a question I've just started asking a lot of artists, because obviously you write the music, you put it on an album, the presentation and all of it. It's part of the art, and that's what I think is amazing about you guys. When it comes to executing this material live, though, there is there's a repercussion element in playing live. You're taking the material on the album and you're playing it live on stage. Is there anything necessarily creative about bringing this material live?
Well, yeah, because most of the time with these songs, we can't actually do them exactly the same live as we do at the own, especially the old ones where we had more kind of strings and things like that. So we have to be sort of creative and getting around things. I mean, there's certain songs that I want to play. I've always wanted to play live, but we never have, just because they don't sound very good live. You know, I'd love to play Bastogne Blues or Operation Mincemeat or something like that. You know, these sort of big ballads. You know, but there's so many textures on the album, and if we played it live, it sounds crap. You know. It just wouldn't work, you know. And we've kind of half tried it sometimes, you know, playing some of the more ballady songs, and it's like not the right setting, it's not the right vibe, and it never really works 100%. So and the older songs, they tend to develop, obviously, you know, like with any band. So it's all a creative process, really.
Yeah. Well, I'd imagine it also depends on the room that you're playing in too, right?
Well, I mean, every show is different, you know. I mean, I'm very much like a vibe person, you know. I don't care about having great sound in my monitors, but if I have a good sound, if I have a good vibe, I don't care about the sound, you know. So, and that's to do with the room and everything, you know. So yeah. It's a tough call. I mean, obviously, there's the staple songs that are in the set list that are always going to be there, which basically we can play anywhere and they work. And on each different tour that we do, I usually, you know, try something out or experiment with like an older song or something we've never played, and I do try them. And again, if they work, they tend to stick around in the set list. If they don't, they get binned, and that's as simple as that. So yeah, that's like a kind of writing process in itself.
Yeah, it almost seems like putting a set list together is almost like creating an album, because you need to make everything go from one song to another. There's times where a band...
It has to have dynamics.
What?
It has to have dynamics the same as an album.
Yeah, I can't imagine if you open up with the wrong song, it could just kill an entire show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I've done that on purpose before.
Why would you do that?
Well, the thing is, it worked out really good. I don't know. Sometimes I can just be an idiot. I mean, there's like I say, there's a lot to do with dynamics, definitely, but it's like making a playlist, really. I mean, I love making playlists, really, but when you've got to make a playlist out of your own songs, I tend not to really listen to my own music. I kind of listen to the album so many times making it, I put it to bed and don't revisit it. When we come to playing live, I've got to learn my own songs all over again, and I end up listening to stuff I've not listened to for years. That can be quite surprising, but it's all about dynamics. But I mean, we're always learning as we move on. It's never perfect, I don't think.
Yeah, well, if perfection, your search for true perfection as an artist will constantly lead you endlessly, and I think that goes for any medium of creativity.
Well, it's one motivation for doing what we do, I guess.
Yeah.
I think my biggest motivation actually is, if I want to hear some music but it doesn't exist, I'll just make it myself.
That's the best way to do it. I think that's why a lot of, not for everybody, obviously, every artist has different purposes and different goals, but I feel like a lot of people become artists because they're not hearing what they've always wanted to hear. So they just say, fuck it, I'll make it myself.
Yeah, that's the greatest motivator, really, because you get so much reward, whether you get any recognition or financial, reward for what you do, that's irrelevant. The actual the good feeling you get from creating something out of your own mind. You thought, well, I wanted to hear this, and I've made it, and now I can hear this.
Yeah.
That to me is the reward. And it's the biggest motivator.
Yeah, and then it results in an experience that you share with people, and then they experience the art with you, and it resonates with you. That's, to me, I think, the ultimate rewarding experience.
That's the weird thing. That's just freakish as hell to me. That is, when other people dig what you do or come to your shows, and I don't know. I mean, it's amazing. It blows my mind. It really does. I don't really quite understand it, to be honest.
Artists always think that they're alone in the world, but they always create something that resonates with somebody. And I think that when an artist puts their artwork out in the world for people to experience and share, and then people resonate with it, that's the ultimate form of realization that the artist is not alone in the world.
There is that. I think I'd still be doing it if nobody resonated with it. If nobody cared, I'd still be doing it because I need to do this myself. But who wouldn't love? Who wouldn't take a good feeling from somebody else connecting with something you've created?
Yeah,
it could. That is a really good positive feeling. And God Almighty, we need that.
Yeah, it could be stressful too, because all of a sudden the artist realizes is that now there's also a responsibility behind it, because you're presenting it to people to experience, and you're hoping it could be positive. So,
but I've never been one to really be held down by responsibility, to be honest.
Okay. Punk rock.
Well, I've got enough stress in my life without stressing about what people might think of my music. Mm-hmm. I stress about real, actual real life things. If somebody likes the music, then yeah, great. If they don't, then what am I going to do about it?
Yeah. You achieve the ultimate form of creative freedom, or not even just creative freedom, but freedom in general, when you stop worrying about what other people think.
Yeah, I think more people should do that, maybe. I mean, I'm not saying like my way's the right way, but I've felt liberated by kind of being a little bit more like that.
And you'll hear some people argue that that's just a very self-absorbed way of living, but
they're probably self-absorbed in something they do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all selfish,
and I don't judge them for it. But I don't think it's about being self-absorbed. I just think it's about not worrying for no reason, because why would it's like girls worrying about people, like body shaming, it's worrying about people what they think, what the magazines say they should be like. They shouldn't be worried. It's other people that put them in that position.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's that kind of weird space where it's okay. Well, yeah, it's nice to have people like what you do, but if someone doesn't, then what is that going to change?
Yeah. Happiness is subjective.
I think if you go down the rabbit hole of trying to please people, then you basically that to me that's when you've sold out.
Yeah.
That's like creating something for commercial gain. You want more fans or whatever. You want to be famous or you want to be rich, one of the two. And I don't know, very, very few people achieve that in the world.
Absolutely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed this discussion. Just the new album is scheduled to come out on October 9th. Is there just anything you would like to promote? Obviously, thanks to a certain virus that I'm not naming on my outlet. Yeah, I don't want to give it any publicity. I will say, though, they do have a good publicist. Just obviously, when all this is over, can we be expecting to see Crippled Black Phoenix on the road with this new lineup to share this new material with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, without giving away any secrets, there are plans. We're going to go further afield this time as well. Well, fingers crossed, and possibly another recording in October. So there might be like an EP or something with possibly a new singer. So yeah, things are happening. The band feels great. I mean, I do really want to, shout out for Belinda and Helen and Andy and a mysterious new guy, because obviously I might write this stuff, but we're a really tight family, and we have a core of the band now, and it feels like there's us in the core of the band, and we're very, very happy now. And there's a lot of stress that's disappeared recently, which is great. So
yeah. This new mystery guy you have, you should have him do a project with Tortilla Man from Slipknot and the supposedly unreleased new singer of Static X.
All right, no, they're doing are they doing something as well like that?
Yeah, so you never know. Maybe we could have this whole anonymous thing. We'll make it a new trend.
Yeah, but I promise I won't make a big deal out of it.
Fair enough. But thank you so much, Justin. Everybody, we are here with Justin of Crippled Black Phoenix. Ellengæst coming out October 9th via Season of Mist. Be sure to pick it up then when supplies last forever. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York.